All right. I think we're live now, Graham. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are here together, and I'm here with Graham Wilkinson, an amazing singer-songwriter, guitarist, and generally excellent person who I've known now for a couple of years. And he's joining us for our Musician Monday. This is our new series where we are showcasing musicians that we've helped through the Musician Treatment Foundation. That's our nonprofit that we started back in 2017. Since then, we've provided over 1 million in free care for professional musicians who are needful, who are uninsured or underinsured, and need help and can afford it. And that is for their shoulder and elbow and hand orthopedic care. And we couldn't have started the foundation without the amazing support and willingness to be deeply involved in it by Elvis Costello and his amazing, beautiful, and talented wife, Diana Krall. And so they have been involved in this from the outset, and it's just been a real amazing ride that we've had so far. So this is, we're in the midst still of a pandemic, as if you hadn't heard, and COVID has affected us all, each of us in many, many different ways, both as caregivers, people who are essential workers, people who are just trying to get by, people who have lost their jobs, people who are trying to maintain any sort of income. And my hat is off to everyone who is finding their way to manage through this crisis, and for all the people who have been working so hard at helping with this. Something, I'm hearing a rattling or something. Do I hear that? Maybe it's just me. Okay. Anyway, so so what we are about today is that there's definitely a rattle. Let's see. That's not. No, there's a little something going on. Graham, I wonder if it's coming.
I can hear it. Sounds kind of staticky whenever you're talking for a few more seconds, an extended period of time.
I see. I'll turn my volume down some. How about now? Is that? No, it's still there. It's still there. Well, we haven't had this before. We've done multiple ones of these. It's an odd. Well, Nick in the background, if you can technologically, Graham, Nick thinks it's coming from your side.
Well, wait, something happened.
Yeah, something different happened. Okay. Well, this anyway. So let's move on and see. I hope that's not too irritating. It stops when you're talking, so we're going to have you. I'm going to stop talking, and you're going to start talking. But let me just say briefly that we are seriously trying to both discuss and answer questions for our musicians with our Musician Monday. And we had a great turnout last time, and we had many questions coming in from musicians. And I would like this to be almost a quasi-televisit, meaning no copays, no coinsurance, no deductibles. I'll provide you as much of the free information as I can. We know that something came out yesterday that said there's a prediction that 43 million people in the U.S. are going to lose their health insurance. We already know that over 40% of professional musicians lack adequate or any health insurance. So we hope this is a small service we can provide, and certainly you can contact anybody through the Musician Treatment Foundation if you're a professional musician and need some help. So with that, I want to welcome Graham, my very good friend, who is just an amazing person, and I want to why don't you go straight to telling a brief story about what went on with you, Graham, and then mainly entertain us with some amazing music as you always do, and then we'll have a time for a little Q&A after that. How about that?
Sounds good. Okay, it stopped. Is it static whenever I'm talking?
It's okay.
It's okay. Well, Dr. Barron, thanks for having me on here. I wouldn't be able to play the guitar or the piano if I hadn't been helped out by you and MTF. So just that story in itself is the core of what's going on. I broke my hand, my fifth metacarpal 2 years ago, and I neglected going to see anybody. I didn't go to the doctor at all. I used wooden barbecue skewers and duct tape to make a little splint around these two fingers, and I taped it together. And it was a moment of desperation about a month later that I got in touch with Renee from the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians, and she immediately referred me to MTF and to Dr. Barron. And so it's still amazing that the healing process, I mean, it was a swollen mess that I think it was a 45-degree fracture.
Yep.
Bad. And I think the reality of something that you wanted me to talk about was that I did wait over a month before I came to see anybody about it, which caused the bone to heal, which means that it was more of a process to actually fix. So that's one of the things that when musicians, but anybody neglects to seek attention for a serious injury, it can more complications can arise. So I kind of missed the main question, other than you healed me, and then this is what's going on, and I'm here to.
No, it's not. There was no main question. It was just you telling a little bit. The bottom line is that you were not able to play. You were not able to make a living, right? And you needed to make a living, and yet you were avoiding healthcare, seeing anybody, because it's very costly. And we were lucky enough to get in contact through Renee and through the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians, and then we got you in pretty quickly, and you healed up very rapidly because you're a young, healthy guy.
Well, I think one of the things that you just said is that not only did I am lucky enough to have been put in contact with you, but I waited a month and I went to a doctor, and this is the story that I saw the cost that it was going to be, and then I had a breakdown. I had an emotional breakdown and a mental breakdown because I'd been lying to myself for a month and a half about how severe my injury was. I was trying to play shows, but I couldn't play the guitar. That was what it was. I had a band and they were playing, and it was only after reaching out to a few people and taking the steps to try and figure out what to do that I was lucky enough, because had I not been taken care of by him, I would never have been put in touch with you. And like so many guys in my band and so many people that I play with and work with, and even in the service industry, just everybody who's in part of this, musicians are prone to, I don't want to make a generalization, but the idea, most musicians don't have health insurance. That's just like we were just talking about the number of how many people who are going to lose their insurance. If I was just going to guess off the top of my head over the years of playing, the last 15, 20 years in Austin, I'd say 80 to 90% of the guys that I played with didn't have health insurance.
Yeah, I think in certain pockets, in certain styles of music, and certain music hubs, it's a lot different. I mean, in New York, where I've spent most of my career, taking care of the Philharmonic and Met Opera, well, they're lucky enough, if they're lucky enough to get into that, they have some good health insurance, right? But there are, for every one person that's not enough and able to get into and get a regular gig, if you will, through, say, the Philharmonic or the Met Opera or certain long-running Broadway shows, then that comes, insurance comes and they have coverage, but the vast majority of people do not, as you pointed out, and in some cases, and I've seen so many. Oh gosh, I mean, I'm coming up on probably 100 Austin musicians now that I've seen, most of whom have essentially no coverage, and that's just tragic. It's tragic for so many reasons, just basic humankind, but in addition, it's tragic because we all need music so desperately. And our motto with the MTF is keep the music playing, because it really does inspire all of us, and especially in times like this, the COVID pandemic, where we haven't been able to have any live music, not any live venue music. Obviously, there have been some amazing live streams coming across. You've done them. Most musicians have been doing them from their homes, and occasionally paired with someone that they know and trust, and they can interact without worrying about COVID and so forth. But otherwise, it's just been devastating. And the venues even are closing down. We just had another major one in Austin announce its closing today. They're hanging on by threads. And so it's just, we all need music so desperately. It's so important for our mental and physical and psychological well-being. And so that's what we're trying to do, is keep that going. And you are a prime example of that. And so please, by all means, give us some music.
All right. I think it was my mic that was causing that static.
Okay. No, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything about that, but thank you for admitting to that.
Oh, goodness. I think, yeah. I finally looked at the chats and I saw what to do. I will say this, that what you just said about not being able to play live music and play for people. I mean, I know people were doing these live stream shows before the pandemic, but it was my first time to ever do that. And that's been the only way that I've been able to connect with fans and with even some family members. So it's it is special even to see you here and to have this happen. Thanks for having me. And I'll start with this one. This was one from a few years ago. I was playing a show in New Braunfels with Ray Wiley Hubbard, and we did the radio show the day before. And as we were getting set up, we were going over the process for the radio show and when we would go live, and then it was time to go. And then we were live, and then he said something like, "Now, who are you again?" And I started laughing, and I started to explain that I just felt so fortunate and blessed and full of gratitude that I was getting to play with him and hang out. And he goes, "I got a word for you. Lucky. You're lucky." I said, "Oh, goodness. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." So let me just see if I can do this. I forgot about this. I'm lucky, I'm doing fine, better than most who've ever been alive. I'm lucky, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm lucky, I'm doing fine, better than most who've ever been alive. I'm lucky, yeah, I'm doing good. Some days are hard, others are had it worse. Some days are diamonds, some are cursed. Days are hard when you try not to care. So drink a lemonade or a glass of wine. Read a book, bide your time. Hold close the people that you really love. 'Cause you're lucky, oh, you're doing fine. You're better than most who've ever been alive. Yeah, you're lucky, don't you know? You're doing good. And you're lucky, oh, hey, you're doing fine. better than most who've ever been alive, and you're lucky. Don't you know that you're doing good? 'Cause this ain't a joke, it's your only shot. Better live it up and give it what you got. Yeah, 'cause nobody really knows. So the story goes, there's the way it works. In between our smiles lives all the hurt. You can turn around, someone else has said goodbye. 'Cause we're lucky, oh, we're doing fine. Yeah, we're better than most who've ever been alive. Yeah, we're lucky. Yeah, don't you know you're doing good? 'Cause we're lucky, oh, yeah, we're doing fine. Better than most who've ever been alive. Yeah, we're lucky, don't you know? Yeah, we're doing good. Oh, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to just keep on playing without Alton for a second, but this is a pretty awesome opportunity to be here because the reality is that oh wait, there we are.
I came back on.
There we are.
That was great. Thank you.
So
What's the reality?
The reality is that I feel like I'm one of the lucky few getting suffering such a tragic situation and breaking my hand and I couldn't play the piano, couldn't play the guitar. But to have been connected with you, I do feel, very fortunate and lucky because there are, and you've even said it, there are so many musicians specifically that avoid going to see a doctor, not just for mental reasons, but because they don't have insurance and they can't even afford it. They don't have, what would they do when they get there? So.
I'm going to tell a story about a little bit about what musicians do, and it relates to you. Is once I got to know Graham, we became friends, and he was passing through New York doing some recording up there, and he called me, and we met in Midtown near where my office is in Manhattan, and we met at the end of the day or actually maybe middle of the evening at Emmett Olney's pub, and Emmett Olney is a friend of mine from. That I've known a long time as well. And we went and sat down, we had a beer, and there was someone who was fine, who was playing a little guitar, and not much was happening. It was just nice background music. And then Emmett came over, the owner came over, and I introduced him to you and your lovely wife. And I told him that you were an amazing guitarist. And he said, well, by all means, he's got to play. And so he went and asked the musician, to loan you his guitar, which I know you felt a little self-conscious doing, but it broke up the evening, and you started playing some Irish ballads that just got the whole place going, and people were dancing jigs and dancing up a storm, and it was really, really great. And what it did is it was about the mood. It was about what it created, and that's so important for music. And we just need it. We need it desperately now more than ever. And so thank you for that. Give us another one.
Yeah, thanks, man. I don't know if he asked for the guy to stop playing. He kind of told him. To give this guy.
We're trying to be kind.
Yeah, he's trying to be nice. But Um, I was watching one of the Musician Mondays 2 weeks ago, I think, and I guess you had just come back from the shifts that you did in New York, and so many people sick up there, and I have quite a few friends still up in the city, and I have a few friends that actually tested positive for COVID and made it through. And they, an actress and her husband, and it's another musician friend. So sometimes down here in South Austin, isolating and being in self quarantine, it's like it's hard to know what's really going on out there, how desperate and dire it is. But they definitely kept me grounded. And this is a song about dealing with all these things as best you can in this kind of situation. It's called Funny Feeling. Yeah, I got a funny feeling about how things are going. Got a heavy heart for the way things are. But I know enough goodness to keep me moving. Have enough family to give me a home. Each day I'm alive, down on my dollars, hard luck nights, need a worried song. So I sing a little tune for all those songwriters. I am mindful of those who were gone. La da 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 da. Da, da, da. La da 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 da. Da, da, da. Yeah, but I've done my fair share of travel and roaming. I danced through storms. I've been numb with shame, but I know enough goodness to keep me moving. I have me some real good friends that have shown me the way. La da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Well, I got a funny feeling about how things are going. I got a heavy heart, the way things are. But I don't have enough goodness to keep me moving. I have enough family and friends that give me a home. La da da da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da.
All right, thank you. That was wonderful. That was amazing. Thanks. Listening to you made me. It reminded me of some time I spent in New York at a really special event that is put on by one of our amazing people at MTF. She produces it, Barbara Rappaport Garrett, and with her partner in that, Adam Duritz of Counting Crows. They have been putting on this Underwater Sunshine Festival, which showcases amazing young talent talented musicians of all genres, and it's all free for the people who come to it, and the musicians are really showcased, and they're promoted on videos and so forth, and online and live music, and it's just a fantastic show, and it reminds me a lot of it feels like the feeling that you give when you play, and that just it begins to feel redundant to keep saying, trying to beat people over the head about how important music is for all of us, and I just can't say it enough, because it has always moved me and everyone I know, and it changes our mood. It changes our outlook on and our perspective on things, especially in darker times. And this is one of those times. And I was going to ask you, Graham, how has your creative process, your flow, your ability to kind of generate from within, as you have to in the songwriting process, when you are essentially sheltering at home, and I know you happen to know you have kids, and that becomes a distraction. They're wonderful little beings, of course, but they can take a little bit of energy and time to care for, especially when they're hemmed in and not going to school. So how does that impact, you think, either your own experience or those of your fellow musicians that you've spoken with about this?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's definitely challenging. I think there are very similar challenges to being gone and being on the road. I mean, it's a balance, I think, is the biggest thing. I do have to be intentional and diligent enough to step away from my wife and kids and say, I need to go play the guitar. As crazy as that might sound to some people, but there's catharsis, there's a cathartic thing, there's a healing thing inside of me that music does for me. And I think one of the main things that has kept me going to try and play music for people is that people express what you're saying, how important music is to them. So, on that note, thank you for being such an advocate for musicians, but to also try and help them in a way that, so few people can, which is to start this foundation, which helps musicians with hand, elbow, and shoulder issues. So it's been crazy. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like for people on the front lines of this, because there's anxiety and stress and worry. One of my daughters has asthma. My parents, I've been taking care of them. So trying to keep your distance and trying to maintain that in everything you do. But those stressful times, the dark times, are things that can definitely influence songwriting and aid in it. I mean, the most recent song I wrote was when John Prine died a couple weeks ago.
God. Yes.
And so I'd already been singing all my favorite songs of his for weeks, because when he got so sick a couple weeks prior to him passing, and I just had to go sit outside in the front yard, and I just wanted to observe what I could, because he seemed to be such a keen observer. And instead of trying to sing one of his songs or find a song already written to make me feel better, it was the call of, like Woody Guthrie says, you just got to just listen. It takes a person to listen to try and find these new songs. So, I mean, I'll do that one right now, I guess. That's the other one I was thinking about.
It's a perfect lead in.
What's that? Oh, this one is called Night Flowers. I think it's a song in process and works. Hope I can remember it all. Time has come to say goodbye, but the bees keep buzzing round the flowers outside. You, the birds in me, can only sing these melodies, 'cause they're all that we got to get by. Don't waste another minute, 'cause things change by the hour. Could lose it all in just a second. Fast forward, flashlight keeps saying night flower. Wind sings sweet, blowing through the trees, and the dog's bark is howling in the breeze. The late nights come almost every day, but the rhythm of my feet walking down the street keeps me sane. Don't waste another minute, 'cause things change by the hour. Could lose it all in just a second. Fast forward, flashlight keeps saying night flower. Don't waste another minute, 'cause things change by the hour. Could lose it all in just a second. Fast forward, flash of light keeps saying night flower.
Excellent. Thank you. Love that. Love that. That's nice. That doesn't sound like it's in progress. It sounds like it's ready to go.
Wow.
You know, I think that makes you think about inspiration. You obviously were inspired by the amazing John Pine's passing, and as we all were touched by that. I mean, no one has a few have written the way he's written and touched people, and it, you know, I'm always fascinated by the musicians who influence other musicians who they are influenced by, and it's always the fascinating thing for me is it's always unpredictable. It's remarkable who specifically have influenced others, and they're not always. It's trans genre. It's not. There's no specific rhyme or reason, so to speak, to that, and it's just really cool. I know someone who was a guitarist who was inspired by Babatunde Olatunji, right? The amazing African percussionist, and you know that was just his he was his inspiration, and things like that. And so, but there's obviously musicians who are inspired by their either mentors, teachers, or actually just listening to their music growing up or whatever. But but then we are all inspired by musicians. Those of us who aren't really musicians are inspired, and that inspiration. I mean, it always fascinates me how I can just be listening to a song and start crying, and or it just makes me want to go hug somebody or whatever. And I remember in North Austin up at the Domain, there's an outdoor area in the center of all these retail shops, and a quartet was out there playing, and this watching, and most of the people sitting there, not most of them, half of them had kids, and the kids were just moving around to the music. They were just in their own worlds. It had brought that out, and many of them maybe hadn't even heard, Bach or Mozart or whatever, but they were moved by it, and they were moved to just move and to feel free and to look up in the sky, and that's what it's all about. And so thank you for that one. And do you have something else for us, or do you want to say something?
Well, no, I just that was probably one of the biggest draws to playing music for me, was that I realized how music made me feel. And when I first started playing the guitar, I just started learning other people's songs. That was just what I had. I had a big notebook full of all these songs that I had been the lyrics to and the chords. And then it just seemed like a natural progression to, like, well, I feel crazy right now. I need to find a way to deal with this. So it just made sense for me personally to try and write a song. But, I remember, I think I was probably 16 or something, and thinking to myself after listening to some Dylan song, if I can write a song someday that tells someone or explains how someone's feeling and they don't have the words for it or the music, and if I can do that for them, then I will have succeeded. It was this test that I had given myself or some requirements. And after a while, it's hard to keep track of how many people have come up and said that one song of mine they listen to all the time, or it gets them through, or well, it kind of gave me, it was a validating moment, but it's an inspiring moment for me to know that something that I wrote to help me out can help someone else out.
Absolutely.
And I have been the recipient of that and the giver of that, and it's absolutely magical. There is something truly magical, which is why this nonprofit MTF and what you're doing, trying to provide this service, so needed to musicians of all people, who seem to be kind of marginalized in this, especially the healthcare community in our country. I mean, that's just what's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is special. So hey, thank you.
Of course.
I'm saying that. I won't say much more of that, because I bother you all the time about how much I love you. But a song that I wrote last year, or a little over a year ago, for my wife, called "Don't Leave Me Now," we actually recorded at the very end of January, and before everything kind of fell apart, at least over here.
Yeah.
And I made a video, and it was just all of the footage of recording it. I didn't want to try to, it wasn't supposed to be some artistic endeavor. It was just of the making of the song. And throughout February and March, seeing how things were going, all of the images of healthcare workers, first responders, people in isolation, people like in nursing homes, just people, it just got to me. So I just combined all these video clips from news clips, and I put it over this song, and it has a new meaning now for a lot of people. And that was the last song, but I don't know if we were going to do something else. How many songs have I sang?
So far, 17. You've done 17 songs. I know you go into a fugue state where you don't really know. It just all flows out. But yeah, we've been here for 3 hours now. Yeah.
Second set. Should I do that one more? Should I do this one more real quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay. there's the video I was just talking about is on my Facebook page and YouTube and stuff, but it's called "Don't Leave Me Now." Oh, and it's out on Spotify. It was released May 1st. Try to forget how long I used to feel before I met you. So work all day trying to make my way through this broken world for you. Oh Lord, it's hard. Don't leave me now. All I can depend on is this song. Don't leave me now. I lie to myself almost all the time about who I'm supposed to be. So I spend my days trying to make my way, 'cause that's all I ever be. Oh Lord, it's hard. Don't leave me now. All I can depend on is this song. Don't leave me now. All I can depend on is this song. Don't leave me now. Don't leave me now. Don't leave me now.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Graham. Thank you. That's lovely. And you mentioned first responders, and yes, we thank them. But I also see musicians as essential workers and first responders in a way, because think about all the amazing Italian singing from the balconies when they were in the absolute throes of just such a high percentage of deaths from COVID, especially the older individuals there. And here in Austin, there have been people out, so effectively socially distanced, putting on little mini concerts just in the front yard, just for people to hear throughout the neighborhood, and people walking their dogs and people to hear, and inspiring that way. And obviously all the live streams that have been going on. There's been some amazing live streams. Elvis Costello, obviously one of my friends, and Joan Jett has done some beautiful ones. And they're innumerable and important, and they're part of the essential businesses, essential people that we need. You are, and so thank you so much for that. And I'm not going to talk anymore about injuries specifically. This has been so musical. I don't want to taint that by some mundane information about fractures of the hands or elbows or shoulders or torn tendons that you get and things. But I will just throw out one little fun fact. So the average number of bow strokes it takes for a violinist to play a concerto, an average concerto, is 20,000 bow strokes. So if you think about that repetitive overuse and what that can lead to in terms of the problems and injuries, that's just a tiny example, one of a million examples of the ways that musicians subject themselves to unique and worrisome injuries that can destroy their careers, their ability to tour, their ability to make money, the ability to take care of their families, and their ability to make all our lives better. So with that, I think we'll leave you. I'll see you soon in person, Graham, for sure. And really can't thank you enough. Beautiful music. You're just an amazing person. And I love you. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Alton. And hopefully see you soon, too. And Matt, shout out to everybody with MTF and making this all happen. So thanks.
Yes. And of course, let me say, we are going to be doing more of these. I'm sure Graham will be back in some multiple capacities, but we'll be doing more of these Musician Mondays. But most importantly, we had originally had a big benefit concert planned at Austin City Limits on Mother's Day, May 10th, yesterday. And we obviously canceled that because of COVID, as everything else was canceled. And so many of the big stadium tour, Joan Jett was part of that, it has been canceled indefinitely. So many of the big concerts, big venues are shut down for God knows how long. But we don't know exactly, but we've picked another date for July 18th. Please put it in your calendars. July 18th, we're going to be having some sort of benefit. We're calling it Physicians for Musicians Benefit. We will have many great people involved, including Graham, and we are going to be live streaming at the very least. We may be able to have a small audience. Maybe you have to test that you have antibodies, or we will put you in hazmat gear to come in and watch. Who knows? We may be able to have 100 people, but it's going to be live streamed, at least part of it, depending on what it looks like in the end, part of it from Austin City Limits, Moody Theater, as well as other venues, people's homes, depending on how it looks. And we don't know how it's going to look, but we just hope that we get a little bit beyond this, far enough beyond this, to be able to get together again and listen to music, make some music together, and just feel a little better. So I hope everyone stays safe and feels okay and enjoyed this. And thank you again so much. Bye, Graham.
Thanks for having me, man. Yes, sir.